Good afternoon, everyone. I am Leah Boggs, Senior Environmental Planner with the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. I'd like to welcome everyone on the panel and who will be listening to this recording, to this conversation we are having today on biodiesel, specifically the use of higher blends, i.e. B100 or 100% of biodiesel in vehicles. Nationally, there has been an increased interest in this technology as a cost-effective carbon reduction strategy. For example, here in the metropolitan Washington region, the District of Columbia Department of Public Works is operating 100 or more vehicles in their fleet, and DC Water has approximately 50 vehicles in their fleet. And you'll hear more about those projects, or specifically DPW's projects, in a few moments. So today I have a couple experts joining me to dive into application of that technology. But before I do so, I want to point out this conversation ties into the region's goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030 and a long-term greenhouse gas emission reduction by 2050, which is by 80%. So as well as many of our COG member jurisdictions, which we have 24, many of them have climate action plans with specific greenhouse gas emission reduction goals, including DC. DC's reduction is, or goal is 50% reduction below 2006 levels by 2032 and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. So this is a very timely conversation. So on to our panelists, we have first Jill Hamilton. Jill is founder and president of Sustainable Energy Strategies, Inc. Jill has many years of consulting experience in the biofuels industry. Over the past 25 years, Jill and her team have raised more than $1 billion for the biofuels industry. She is also a trusted advisor to the National Clean Cities Program and chair of the Greater Washington Regional Clean Cities Coalition. Jill will help facilitate this conversation, and discuss upcoming funding opportunities to support greater use of B100. We also have with us Colin Hyler, CEO of Optimus Technologies, a diesel engine decarbonization company focused on developing engine technology for medium and heavy-duty diesel engines to operate on high biodiesel blends. Colin has been very active in the biofuels industry since 2004. Colin is also a director of the Clean Fuels Alliance Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to the advancement of research and education for clean burning biomass-based diesel alternatives. Today, Colin will discuss the technology. And finally, the man of the hour leading the project of the hour is Tim Fitzgerald. Since April 2022, Tim has been the fleet administrator for DC's Department of Public Works, Fleet Management Administration. Tim has over 25 years of IT experience to include fleet utility management, program management, and network management. He has over 14 years of experience with fleet workforce management programs, and before joining DC DPW, he was fleet director for DC Water for 10 years. Jill, if you would give us a brief overview of the technology, and then we'll turn it directly over to Colin and Tim to answer some of our questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah. And I just want to thank you and the Metropolitan Washington Council of Government for being willing to have this discussion today. Really appreciate it. And really, I'm not going to add too much to what you've said, maybe just reemphasize some of it. B100 or 100% biodiesel use, it has been gaining attention over the past 5 years as a cost-effective decarbonization strategy. For heavy-duty vehicles, especially those vehicles that are not suited to zero-emission technologies available today. So if a fleet has immediate priorities to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, such as the district that you talked about, Leah, B100 has the advantage of being used in existing diesel assets, and we're going to hear about that today. So as you mentioned, Colin Heiler will provide the technical details, and Tim will speak to his experience using B100 and the vector system in the District of Columbia's Public Works and DC fleet. And so I'm going to start by asking Colin, if why did you design the vector B100 system, since we could already use B20 in vehicles today? What made you decide to push forward to B100?
Yeah, so our technology was developed with the idea that fleets are looking to decarbonize, and ultimately, as Leah had indicated, and you'd mentioned there, Jill, municipalities and agencies are transitioning to net zero carbon. And so a 20% biodiesel blend is still 80% traditional petroleum diesel. And so our goal was to help the transportation industry decarbonize, and biodiesel has a variety of characteristics that make it the ideal solution to be able to do that, because it can utilize the existing infrastructure that fleets have already invested in to help with that transition.
Yeah, Leah, I think you had a question. Yeah, go
yes,
ahead.
I do, sir. So, Colin, can you tell us a little more about the challenges of B100 in colder temperatures? Because we've often heard, I know, years ago, in this industry, folks or fleets were concerned about the use of even lower blends in vehicles and the concern in colder temperatures. So could you tell us more about how B100 addresses those challenges?
Yeah, so diesel fuel, regardless, generally has challenges operating in colder climates, and so the waxes and the paraffins that are in the fuel can crystallize at low temperatures. That gets exacerbated when you look at a biodiesel product that is derived, instead of petroleum-based fuels, it's being derived from oils and fats that are animal and vegetable based. So these biogenic fuels can gel or can achieve a cloud point that has a higher crystallization point than traditional diesel. And so even when you are blending into to diesel and you're looking at, say, a B20 blend, it will gel at a higher point than traditional diesel. And so biodiesel at 100% concentration is even higher. So anywhere in the range of 30 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, you can see gelling challenges associated with biodiesel, and that does cause some operational and logistical challenges. And historically, the industry has experienced those, and that again is in part where the Optimus technology comes into play. We have designed a solution that overcomes those operational challenges for fleet managers.
Along those lines, will you explain a little bit more in detail about how the vector system works, Colin? And I know you have some graphics to share as well. Highlight maybe other non-carbon reduction benefits a fleet might expect as well, and maybe the process of preventing any misfueling.
Yeah, so the technology itself is it's an advanced fuel system technology that upgrades existing diesel vehicles. So trucks that are already in operation can be upgraded. We can also integrate the technology into new trucks as they're being manufactured. This is something I'm sure Tim will talk a little bit about, but the district and others have integrated the requirement for 100% biodiesel into their new vehicle bid specifications. So every new truck that's being delivered to the district on the heavy duty side is actually being integrated and equipped with the technology. Our fuel system never inhibits the engine from operating on traditional diesel. And in fact, we use a small amount of traditional diesel for the vehicle startup and shutdown. There's two fuels on board the truck. In this image here, you can see this is very common, traditional for vocational applications. We have a single tank with actually two chambers. So a small chamber for diesel fuel utilization and a larger heated chamber for the biodiesel. From an operator standpoint, they're going to get into the vehicle and they're going to drive and operate the vehicle as they normally would. As the engine warms up, we use waste heat from the engine system to condition the biodiesel. So we're using that waste coolant heat that's generated by the engine to condition the biodiesel through a series of heat exchangers. Moving over to the right-hand side of the image, we have what we call our vector manifold. That manifold is a series of mechanical components. So we've got a pump, filter, sensors, and heat exchangers. They're all embedded and get installed on the vehicle. As the engine warms up, we're circulating hot coolant through the vector manifold and through the fuel tank to condition the biodiesel to ensure appropriate viscosity, temperature, and flow parameters have been met. We're monitoring all of the operating conditions in real time. So our electronic control unit is automating the system, so there's no engagement, no requirement for the user to have any interaction with the system on a daily basis. They're going to get in the vehicle and continue on completing their normal task for the day. So whether it's a refuse truck doing collection routes or a snowplow doing removal or salting brining operations, the operator is focused on their task at hand and doesn't require any engagement with the Optimus technology. Once the engine is at operating temperature and the biodiesel has been conditioned, our technology will automatically switch from the diesel supply system over to the biodiesel supply system. The majority of operation of the engine is going to occur on biodiesel. At the end of the shift is the only time that an operator is going to notice anything different. When they turn the key off, the engine will continue to operate. It's actually going to switch back over to the diesel system and flush the engine, flush the injectors before shutting down. That ensures that when they start the truck up the next morning or for the next shift, that the engine's starting on traditional diesel, and it eliminates, again, some of those cold weather challenges that we spoke about earlier. In cab, there is a small user interface, and that provides the driver with feedback on which system the engine's operating on, and also provides a fuel level gauge for the biodiesel tank. Again, nothing that the driver needs to do from an interaction standpoint, but it's just there to provide them with some basic information. Here again is just a high-level overview showing the conditioning through the dedicated biodiesel filter and through the tank of the hot engine coolant from the vehicle system. We use some electrical supplemental heaters in extreme cold climates, but also to help us achieve that temperature at a more aggressive rate. All the fuel lines are heated and insulated. So again, regardless of ambient temperature, the technology enables the utilization of 100% biodiesel, which was historically not possible. And we have customers operating throughout the US in temperatures as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit, operating on 100% biodiesel. To your second question there, one of the challenges when you do have multiple fuels is making sure that there's no misfueling events. We have a technology we call the Smart Fuel technology. It actually integrates into the dispensing cabinet for biodiesel refueling stations. It's a simple RFID reader and a corresponding chip that gets mounted on the fuel tank. These two devices come in contact when an operator is refueling, and the refueling station, that dispenser for 100% biodiesel, that reader needs to see the chip on the corresponding biodiesel tank in order to authorize. And what that does is ensure that a driver is not putting 100% biodiesel into a traditional diesel tank, just enables them to seamlessly fuel without the opportunity to make any errors and dispense biodiesel into a tank or a system that's not equipped to run 100% biodiesel.
That's some great information. I'm sorry to hear that there are fleet operators operating in -40 degree weather, but I'm glad to know your system will work well with them. We may have touched on this, but I just want to ask, could I or Tim or others use this system with existing vehicles in their fleet, or does it have to be a new vehicle?
Yeah, so the technology is applicable for both conditions. So existing diesel vehicles, one of the great things about the diesel engine is its longevity. That's also a really challenging thing when it comes to decarbonization. Because some of these vehicles may have an asset life of 10 to 20 years, upgrading the existing vehicle infrastructure and vehicle stock is really important. And that's a great benefit of the technology. A truck that was purchased this year, last year, 5 years ago can be upgraded, but we can also integrate into new trucks as they're manufactured, so that every vehicle that a fleet takes delivery of today, if it does have that traditional diesel internal combustion engine, can be a low carbon biodiesel based vehicle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin, for that. Are there any other last comments or things that we should know about the system?
Yeah, so I think the only other thing that I'd share is the technology itself is highly evolved, highly advanced, and we're helping to streamline fleet managers' activities and tasks. The objective of decarbonizing the transportation industry is a very large, very overwhelming lift. So our technology is designed to streamline operations. It's designed to seamlessly interface with existing fleet operations, and we can also provide and report back to fleet managers on the performance of it. So we have a data interface. All trucks are connected to that, and fleet managers can pull reports on what their biodiesel utilization is, and actually how many tons of carbon are being omitted or being offset by the deployment of 100% biodiesel. And this helps as municipalities, as agencies are measuring against their stated objectives and targets, being able to be very data driven down to an individual asset in terms of how much biodiesel is utilized, what the carbon offsets are, and overall what those analytics look like. So this is all seamless and all designed to help the fleet manager focus on the things that they need to accomplish on a day-to-day basis, which is making sure those trucks are functional, operational, and completing their public safety duty.
Oh, I can't imagine any fleet not wanting that good data. Thanks, Colin, and thank you for walking us through the technology. We're gonna now move on to Tim Fitzgerald. As Leah said, a fleet manager extraordinaire. Tim, you've had the advantage of using this system, B100 Vector, Optimus Vector system in 2 fleets, both DC Water and the district's DPW fleet. Can you talk a little bit about how many vehicles you're operating and what your plans are for your fleet?
Sure. I'm happy everyone could join us because this is an interesting talk. We have about 128 vehicles right now that are operating on the Vector system. And let me just say that, first of all, we've seen no degradation at all in anything that we're doing. We've been moving along. It's been a seamless process. Getting our operators trained and making sure that they understand how to use the system was an ease of use thing. So working with Optimus in terms of deploying the system was very good. But additionally, we're looking at about 30 more that are on their way. And in 24, we have about 40 more additionals that will be added to our fleet.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. So can you, what about maintenance? Is there any difference in maintenance?
Maintenance, the training went well with Optimus. They came on site. They helped us tremendously in terms of turning the corner in our culture and understanding, but it wasn't a big load or a big move in terms of the maintenance in and of itself. It's no different than what we do. We understand what the Vector system and how it works. We were interested in dashboarding, as Optimus has already showed, and making sure that we can track and manage what we measure and how we measure things. And we've gotten a lot better. But the key is that when we reduce that carbon footprint and those greenhouse gases, we've gotten a lot better at changing the culture and the thought process for a healthier fleet and healthier personnel.
Oh, that's wonderful. Glad to hear that. So maybe this is one of the reasons that tell us a little bit about the benefits that attracted you to the B100 technology in your fleet, and maybe it has to do with your employees. So speak to that for a moment.
Excuse me. Well, first of all, the system is cost effective to use because when you're talking about lives and you're talking about people's well-being, as you know, I'm a big proponent of quality of life. And the thing that we have to look at is how we're looking at the emissions and what are we putting out, the health of our city, the health of our employees, the health of what we're putting in the air. And we've looked at this in very different additional vehicles in terms of the application. We've had a reduction in terms of our gases. We've looked at the vector system. It was significantly reduces the particulate matter and the emissions. But we've also seen that one of the biggest issues we have inside of our systems and the emissions is asthma. Asthma is a huge part of where we are today, and inhaling of these fumes, and as we go along, has had to be one that we've had to look at. We're looking at decreases in the carbon emissions, the harmful pollutants that actually go in the air. Using these biogen fuels and operational, this technology has allowed us to be a better fleet. We began to really turn the corner for cleaner, heavy duty fleet emissions, and quickly turning that corner has helped us to get a very good workforce together. And then them knowing that we're doing these things has helped us retain a lot of our workers as well.
That's
Fantastic. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and I think that's an awesome sort of transition into this next question, Tim. You've already started answering the question in terms of, speaking to the benefits, the health benefits of using B100. As I mentioned earlier, the region has a greenhouse gas reduction targets, as well as the district has its own greenhouse gas reduction targets, 50%. By 2032, and then carbon neutrality by 2050. But there's also NOx emissions that many of our local governments are trying to reduce and regionally. So can you speak to the benefits of B100, using B100 100 in your vehicles, and how it's helping to achieve those goals?
Well, there are several. I could run down a list of percentages for you in terms of reduction, and in a lot of ways, to help you to understand. For instance, sulfur dioxides by a certain percentage, 100%. Carbon dioxide between 70 and 84%. Looking at a lot of the carbon monoxide reductions and the percentages has truly helped us in our shops as well, because I like to imagine us and look at us in a different way. For instance, you have a beautiful picture of one of our biodiesel packers. Now imagine that packer being filled with what it's filled with: garbage, trash, and now you've got emissions going on, and you've got a guy hanging on to the back of this going down the street. He's inhaling the fumes from all sides, and it's a thankless position, guys. And I think that it's very important that we take the load off of the types of workers that we have, so they can work in a cleaner, better environment where we can make it better. That reduction and that quality of life and that look has allowed us to attract other workers, without making significant changes to our operation. And the other side of it is the benefit just goes a long way from the nitrous oxides and all the others. They become neutral almost. And I think that that's a very good point that we need to take into account. We've moved from changing a culture to changing a manufacturer's thought process. As mentioned earlier, we're ordering vehicles with the vector system on them. We've gone to some of the OEMs and said, you will make this truck for us, but you will make room for the Optimus technology to be on it as we procure. So that's a big change in the acquisition process as well. So we're happy to share those with you, because it benefits all of us in the long run.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for leading the way and teaching a lot of other fleets on how to do this. But one question that might come up is, where do you buy the fuel? How do you get the fuel? Since most of us are used to the B20, but not necessarily B100. How did you do that?
Well, as you know, we have contracts with different fuel delivery services, and what we've done is we've gone to several of them, even on the Chevron side and others. They've been able to provide for us and look at different fuels and work with us, because they have an interest in this as well. Again, there's a shift in the economy of scale of what fuel and petroleum vehicles cost. As you know, the gas prices are going up as we speak, and the issue is how do we continue to move towards the types of fuels that are going to help us be better in terms of our future. We've actually landed those contracts. I won't mention names, but we've landed those contracts with several of those providers, and they've agreed to provide the fuel and make the change for us to make sure that we're helping the kids on the school buses, the kids, they're picking up the trash, and our packer systems, the leaf blowers, and all of those are going that way. So it's been a great ride for us, and I hope that helps.
No, that's very helpful. Very good explanation. So speaking of getting some help along the way, I know you because I've worked with you on them, but you've secured some diesel emission reduction acts or other funding systems. Can you talk a little bit about managing those diesel emission reduction acts, how you were able to secure that?
Wow. And I'm very thankful because everyone on this call, as you see on the screen, has been very helpful in one way or another. I tend to get on people's nerves every now and then, either by not calling back or calling too much. So, forgive me for that. But to answer your question, yes, we've received 2 EPA diesel grants from the DERA as well, and we retired some vehicles, that were at a higher building infrastructure grant incentive. We received that as well for refueling the infrastructure. We're also exploring different other grants as well for different other applications. But this has been a success for us in many ways because it actually has worked. And not only has it worked, we've seen no degradation in the operation of our fleet and our vehicles with this. So the partnership has been great as we walked along. And we're also looking to do even more because as the vehicles begin to change and the technology starts to change, our dashboard initiatives, our KPIs, our key performance indicators and all become prudent in terms of reporting, strictly reporting under the EPA and the EPAC, what we're doing and how far we're progressing. So we have to make sure we're recording that information as well.
So thank you, Tim. We only have a couple more minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and walk through a couple of the funding opportunities that Tim's been mentioned and was able to take advantage of. The first one is this, hopefully you're all seeing my screen, the USDA Higher Blend Infrastructure Incentive Program. This provided money for Tim and is now open. There's about $450 million available, 90 million in the first round that closes September 30th. But this is available for fleets to use to put in fueling tanks and dispensers. And there are going to be about 5 windows, and you have about 36 months to do that grant if you are successful in receiving it. So please check that out. I provided the link in here. The next one is, oops, I missed the Diesel Emission Reduction Act that Tim mentioned. There's 115 million available for this national solicitation. It comes out every 2 years. And you can actually work with Leah Boggs and her team on applying for this. It is available for fleets, but you do need to work through a nonprofit. That particular window closes December 1st, and it can pay for up to 25% of the new diesel vehicles or 100% in some cases for other technologies. So again, check that out. If you are successful in receiving these funds, you won't be able to implement that project until next summer. So keep that in mind. It's going to be another year before you see those vehicles in your fleet. Now, the last one I wanted to mention is the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, CMAQ. There's 2.6 billion. There's a lot of money available, but you have to work through your metropolitan planning organization. The federal money is administered through the DOTs, your state DOTs. But B100 does qualify for both retrofits, as Colin mentioned, or advanced vehicles. You can include the fuel and the infrastructure. So if you can't do the DERA or the HBIP, consider the CMAQ program. And since we're short on time, I'm going to stop sharing there and turn it back over to Leah.
Wow, that was a great panel. We ran through a lot of information, but I think that I will ask our panelists if there are any other last comments that you would like to provide, in addition to including where you all can be reached, your email addresses, and maybe even a phone number. We'll also like to shout out where the video will be sent out or be available. It will be available on the COGS DMV Climate Partners page, which I will share very quickly here for you all. So here's the website, climatepartners.org. So we will post it there likely by the end of the month, making sure there aren't any other information that we'd like to provide. So I'll open it up to the three of you. But before I do that, I would like to say, Tim, I live in the district. So we do see the use of the refuse trucks. I will actually ask the drivers to see how they feel about using those vehicles. So I'll let you know what they say.
Absolutely. Well, since you tipped me, I will say my information is in the chat as well. I will say that most fleet leaders do yourself a favor, take the risk. Take the risk, it's worth the reward. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Amen to that, Tim. And mine's jhamilton@sesi-online.com or 703-980-7374. Colin?
Yep, and I'll just flash our contact information here, phone number, email, optimistech.com for more information. And yeah, happy to help from beginning evaluations all the way through project planning, implementation, however we can help.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.